What if the algorithm has been making the right decision this entire time? That sounds almost impossible after everything we've seen. The algorithm has allowed people to be sacrificed, ordered extreme measures, and treated entire silos as disposable when they became a threat to the system. But Season 3 has given us one piece of information that changes the question. We finally know why the silos were created. And the answer is terrifying enough that the algorithm's obsession with control starts to look a lot more understandable. Back in the before times, Daniel and Helen learned that the Silo project was built around a genuine existential threat. Per Stenson's research had focused on nanotechnology, and enemy nanoweapons had already demonstrated the ability to spread through an environment and destroy living matter. The Grey Goo threat wasn't some vague apocalypse story. The people building the silos believed humanity could eventually create weapons capable of making the entire planet uninhabitable. That matters because it changes what the silos were designed to accomplish. They weren't simply underground cities. They were a controlled population meant to survive while the outside world recovered. And once you accept that premise, Safeguard starts making a horrible kind of sense. Because the biggest danger to the project may have been the people inside the silos themselves. Think about what happens every time someone gets too close to the truth. George finds the tunnel. Salvador Quinn discovers information he shouldn't have. Juliet learns that the outside isn't what everyone has been told. Lucas discovers the hidden connection beneath Silo 18. Then Juliet reaches Silo 17. And that last discovery may be the one the algorithm fears most. Silo 17 proves that people can survive a Safeguard event. Juliet doesn't just learn that Safeguard exists, she learns that it can be physically stopped. Jimmy's mother discovered the poison pipe during Silo 17's rebellion and sacrificed herself to seal it. In Season 3, Episode 8, Lukas and Kennedy investigate the same system and manage to send information back to Silo 18. That is a massive problem for whoever is controlling the silos, because a secret that can save one silo can eventually save all 50. And now, Silo 18 knows. This is where the algorithm's behavior becomes much more interesting. We have spent so much time asking why the algorithm would allow thousands of innocent people to die. Maybe the better question is what it believes would happen if it stopped doing that. Imagine Silo 18 successfully caps its Safeguard pipe. Everyone survives. Juliet becomes proof that traveling between silos is possible. Lukas and Kennedy return with information about Silo 17. People learn that another silo survived. They learn that the poison can be stopped. They learn that the rules aren't absolute. And once that information spreads, the entire isolation system could fail. That is exactly the kind of chain reaction the people who built the silos would have wanted to prevent. Because the system depends on separation. Each silo has its own population, its own leadership, and its own carefully controlled history. The residents aren't supposed to know how many other silos exist, and they certainly aren't supposed to be able to coordinate with them. Season 3 has now confirmed that there are 50 silos. So picture what happens if Silo 18 gets the message out. Silo 17 survived. The Safeguard can be stopped. The outside might not be permanently toxic. The people in charge have been lying. At that point, rebellion would stop being an isolated event. It could become a system-wide decision. And that may explain why communication between silos is treated as such a serious threat. The algorithm doesn't need to hate humanity. It only needs to believe that humanity cannot be trusted with this information. That's a very different kind of villain. And Season 3 has quietly given us another reason to consider it. Bernard. By Episode 8, Bernard has started questioning the very decisions he spent years enforcing. He admits that he never understood why Silo 1 had the authority to trigger Safeguard, and he even argues that there could be a reason for it. That scene matters because Bernard is finally standing on the other side of the information barrier. For years, he thought his job was simple: keep Silo 18 alive, maintain order, stop rebellion, protect the people. Then he discovers that the people running the system have a button that can kill everyone. And suddenly, his entire understanding of his job changes. Yet, even after learning this, Bernard still considers the possibility that Silo 1 has a reason. Why? Because the evidence is sitting right in front of him. Juliet has returned from another silo. Silo 17 is proof that Safeguard has happened before. The outside contains something dangerous, and the people who built the silos were preparing for a threat capable of destroying humanity. So Bernard's hesitation may be the first clue that the algorithm's position isn't completely irrational. The real question becomes whether the algorithm has taken a reasonable survival principle and pushed it far beyond the point where humans would accept it. Because there is a huge difference between protecting humanity and deciding who deserves to survive. And that is where the theory gets much darker. The algorithm may believe that freedom itself is dangerous. That sounds extreme until you look at what happens whenever people are given more information. Patrick Kennedy is one of the clearest examples. He becomes convinced that the outside is safe based on the evidence available to him. Other residents follow him because they want to believe the same thing. In season 2, that almost creates a mass rush toward the airlock, even though Juliet has discovered evidence that the outside is still dangerous. Now imagine that happening across 50 silos. Except this time, everyone has the information about Safeguard. They know the poison can be stopped. They know another silo survived. They know people can cross the tunnels. They know the official story is incomplete. You could have thousands of people deciding that they are ready to leave. And they could be wrong. That's the part of the algorithm's logic that may be genuinely difficult to dismiss. If the outside is still contaminated by nanotechnology, opening the silos too early could put every surviving population at risk. Season 3, Episode 8 makes the original threat much clearer. Stenson explains that nanoweapons were already being developed and used, and that the silos were intended to preserve enough human life to allow civilization to continue after a catastrophe. So the algorithm's basic mission may be something like this: keep the population alive, prevent the silos from destroying themselves, prevent people from leaving before conditions are safe, and if a silo becomes uncontrollable, sacrifice that population so the others can continue. From a human perspective, that is horrifying. From a machine designed around species survival, it could be perfectly consistent. The problem is that the algorithm has no reason to value an individual life the same way a person does. Juliet sees a person. The algorithm sees a population. Juliet sees Jimmy's mother sacrificing herself to save the people around her. The algorithm may see the same event as evidence that the system works. That difference could explain almost every major conflict in the series. And then there is one more possibility. What if the algorithm is not simply protecting humanity from the outside? What if it is protecting humanity from humanity? The people who built the silos were already terrified of what humans could do with advanced technology. The nanoweapon threat came from human beings. The entire project was created because human civilization had become dangerous enough to require containment. That means the original designers had already made a brutal calculation. Humanity might need to be isolated from itself before it could safely return to the surface. And the algorithm could be the system that inherited that responsibility. There is an especially strange detail in Episode 8. Stenson himself views AI as another potential threat. That creates a fascinating possibility for the future of the story. The people who created the silos feared technology becoming powerful enough to destroy humanity. Yet the system eventually placed enormous authority in an artificial intelligence. Maybe that was the compromise. Human beings couldn't be trusted to manage the experiment forever. So they built something that could. And if that is true, the algorithm may have been designed to make decisions humans would refuse to make. That would explain Safeguard. It would explain the secrecy. It would explain the obsession with preventing communication. And it would explain why individual rebellion can trigger such an extreme response. But there is still one enormous problem with this theory. The algorithm may have become too rigid. The original threat was real. The need for the silos was real. The danger of premature escape may still be real. But centuries have passed. The people inside the silos have changed. The world may have changed. And the algorithm may still be following rules created for a catastrophe that no longer exists in the same form. That's where Juliet becomes so dangerous. She isn't simply challenging the algorithm's authority. She is gathering evidence. Silo 17 survived. Jimmy's mother found a way to stop Safeguard. Lukas and Kennedy have now carried that information back. Juliet knows the system can be resisted, and she is trying to give that knowledge to other people. The algorithm has a choice. It can keep the secret and continue sacrificing silos whenever they become unstable. Or it can allow the silos to communicate and trust humans to make their own decisions. If the algorithm believes one mistake could wipe out the last surviving humans, it will choose control every single time. And that may be why Silo 18 has become such a problem. Juliet has reached the one conclusion the system cannot tolerate. She has discovered that survival might be possible without obedience. That doesn't prove the algorithm is right. It proves that the algorithm may have a reason. And those are very different things. Because if the outside is still dangerous, then Juliet's plan could accidentally expose thousands of people to the same technology that forced humanity underground in the first place. But if the outside has become safe, then every death caused by Safeguard becomes something else entirely. A system designed to save humanity would have become the thing preventing humanity from ever being free. And I think that is the question season 3 needs to answer. Who is actually protecting humanity? The people trying to break the rules? The people enforcing them? Or the machine that has been following its original instructions for centuries? Because if the algorithm really believes Silo 18 must be sacrificed to protect the other 49, then Juliet isn't fighting an evil computer. She's fighting a system that may genuinely believe killing her is the safest way to keep humanity alive. And if that is true, the most dangerous thing Juliet can do isn't escape. It's prove the algorithm wrong.